Okay, let's have a look at part 6 here. Simultaneity. What does that roughly mean? Well, I've got set up here a little picture for us to understand what's going on. So we have two loudspeakers connected to the same place, and one is going to have a high frequency signal sent from its this speaker, and the other one is going to have a low frequency signal sent from this speaker. So you can tell which signal strikes you first, whether you hear the high pitched followed by the low pitched, or the low pitched followed by the high pitched, or they both arrive at the same time. And between the two speakers we have three physics teachers. I can't spell my own name here. AJT in the middle. The short one is of course Mr. Watling, and this one can be Dr. North. So for me in the middle, because I'm equidistant between the two speakers and the speed of sound from both speakers is not dependent on frequency, I hear both sounds at the same time in the form of a chord if you're musical. However, because Dr. North is closer to the low frequency speaker and further away from the high frequency speaker, from his frame of reference he hears the low sound first, followed by the high sound. So we're in disagreement as to what we're hearing, our observations here. And of course Mr. Watling is deaf, so he will hear nothing from either speaker and will not really understand why he's been made to stand in the field in the first place. So if that's an idea of simultaneity and the disagreement of, then I need to set up a slightly complicated story now involving two rocket ships. The difference between the two rocket ships is nothing other than one has a velocity in this direction, and I'm going to set it up with each sequence of these pictures that it will always move two squares along. Okay. There are two people in each rocket. One of them is traditionally drawn as a boy and one of them is traditionally drawn as a girl, but just because they're drawn as a girl doesn't mean they have to be in this day and age. So let's make this one Doc North and make this one Mr. Watling. Now both Doc North and Mr. Watling are standing exactly in the middle of their spaceships, between two stores of fireworks. So at the front end of the spaceship there is a store of red fireworks, and at the back end of the spaceship there is a store of blue fireworks. Okay, everything seems to be clear, I hope, so far. Now, an asteroid is coming towards the ships. It splits into two equally sized parts, and at the same moment they pass between the two ships, destroying the outside of the ships a little bit such that they leave a mark, and then setting off the fireworks at each end of the ship. So as I move now onto my second drawing, it should look identical to the first. The only thing that we're going to notice is that a flash of red light is going to start emanating from the front of the ship, and a flash of blue light is going to start emanating from the back of the ship, and that this ship is going to shuffle across two squares. So 3, 2, 1, there we are. So we can see this ship is still in the same place, but this ship has moved along two squares, and we can see that the red light, which started from this position, has moved along around about 7 squares, and the blue light has moved along about 7 squares. The important feature to pick out about this picture is that it looks as if Dr. North is experiencing a flash of red light first. Now we're going to shuffle over to the next picture. One of the things you'll notice is that the red wave front is going to continue moving to the left, the blue wave front is going to continue moving to the right, and the spaceship with velocity is going to again move a couple of squares to the right. So here we go, nice and quick, there we are. So now the important thing to notice about this particular freeze frame here is that Doc North has seen the flash of red light but has not yet seen the flash of blue light. Mr. Watling though is seeing both the flash of the blue light and the red light at the same time, and he can do this even though he wears hearing aids. So as far as Mr. Watling is concerned, is that he is experiencing the light from both events at the same time. And then we're going to fast forward to another picture now. We're going to notice that the red wavefront is going to continue moving to the left and the blue wavefront is going to continue moving to the right, and that this spaceship is going to shuffle along another couple of squares. There we are. So now Doc North is now experiencing the flash of the blue light. He has already experienced the flash of red light, and some significant time later he is now experiencing the flash of blue light. And Mr. Watling has already experienced both at the same time. So after this, the two have a conversation or think to themselves, and Mr. Watling thinks to himself that I can measure the distance from myself to the damaged region of the spaceship to the rear, and the distance from myself to the damaged region of the spaceship to the fore, and both of those distances are the same. And so because I experienced a red flash and a blue flash at the same time, I therefore declare that these two events, the red flash and the blue flash, occurred at exactly the same time. They were simultaneous. However, Doc North, sitting in his spaceship, can also measure his distance to the rear where there is some damage from the impact, and his distance to the fore where there is some damage from the impact. And because those distances are the same, he can declare that he is equidistant from the rear damage to the fore damage, and therefore, because he experienced the red flash first and then the blue flash, from his perspective, the red event happened first and then the blue event happened. So this is a conundrum that we call simultaneity. If one observer experiences two events happening at the same time, it is not going to be the case that any other observer with relative motion to that observer is going to agree with that. If we had a situation, could get a situation such that at the beginning story, let's go back, I've got it on the floor here. Go back to the beginning story, that instead of the meteor splitting into two and striking the front and back of the ships at the same time, if we could get it so that it struck the blue end first and then the red end, we could create a situation such that Doc North experiences the blue and the red flash at the same time. But because he is experiencing a simultaneous event and therefore appreciating that these two events happened at the same time, it is almost guaranteed that Mr. Watling is going to disagree with that and say that that is not the case. He is going to say that the red event, the blue event happened first and then the red event happened. So we need to take this idea of simultaneity and start moving forwards with this in mind, is that it doesn't matter which frame of reference we're in, we should, in both of these situations, be able to determine the speed of light from our observations, and that speed of light will always calculate to be the same value. Now, in order for that to be the case, something is going to have to give, something that we've never considered to be up for grabs as a variance in the past, and that is going to be the rate at which time ticks by. So it turns out that Doc North and Mr. Watling will be experiencing different tickages of time. But that's going to be covered next week when we look at time dilation.